Well, hello again, and welcome back to me sitting here in the rain, although it's only just spotting of rain at the moment, but welcome back. And it's March, and I'm pleased to be here with you, introducing another month. And I hope you had a good February. I hope you, if you're in the UK or wherever you are in the world, I hope the weather hasn't been too unkind to you. Since I last did an update, here in the UK we have had quite an eventful February. The first time I can remember, we had 3 named storms, one after the other sort of thing, one on a Wednesday, Thursday, one on a Friday, and then one on a Sunday and Monday. And so we had quite an eventful period of really, really strong winds. And here, I think, it sort of touched 60, 70 miles an hour at times, and there was sort of slight damage done to buildings, several ridge tiles blown off and fences blown down and kind of minor, a lot of trees sadly blown down again. But we expect that, in February. It was just the fact that you don't expect 3 storms to roll in and one follow on from the next one, and it just seemed at that particular time it was endless. But anyway, on with March, and as I've done in January and February, I thought I'd give a few little March sayings that I know, and I think first of all, we better have a look. A lot of people think the 1st of March is the first day of spring. Well, if you study weather and meteorology, a lot of meteorologists do say to them the 1st of March is the first day of spring because they work on monthly cycles. To them, winter is December, January and February. Spring is March, April, May. But that's if you study the weather and you're recording temperatures. The actual spring equinox of when the sun moves, more into the northern hemisphere, and we can really call it spring this year, is the 20th of March. So we have got actually another 20 days before we actually truly hit proper spring, shall we say. So as I was saying, talking about old March sayings, one I like, and I'll try and explain this because it's in modern language. It's a bit strange, but there again, this was told to me by my grandfather. A peck of dust in March is worth a king's ransom. Now you might say, what on earth are you talking about with a peck of dust? Well, we have to look back many years. And in really olden days, a peck was a unit, a measurement of quantity, and I think it related to about 8 bushels. You say, well, what's a bushel? I think in modern terminology, that relates to about 9 litres. So you can see that would be quite a lot of dust, wouldn't it? If you'd got a peck, and if you'd got a rucksack that could, or a bucket that could hold 9 litres, you'd have quite a lot of dust in that, wouldn't you? And what this is inferring to is, obviously, if the ground, obviously March is predominantly quite a wet, windy, still quite a cool month in the northern hemisphere where I'm in the UK. And obviously if the ground is dry and dusty, farmers and horticulturalists and anybody that's growing crops can get on and work the land and get the land planted. And that's half the battle this time of the year, particularly when we didn't have such good machinery, when you're working the land with horses, and the machinery was pretty primitive, and it was really manpower and horsepower. So obviously if the ground was dry, you could get on and get your crops set and that could be worth a lot of money to you, and it could be the difference between, you know, making a lot of money or making no money in those days, or even the difference between survival when it, you know, we all grew crops kind of thing. So I rather like that. That's a peck of dust is worth a king's ransom in March. And another one for March is in like a lamb, out like a lion, and that refers to the wind. If March comes in very still, very quiet, it is quite breezy today, but it's not by no means a gale. But if March comes in quite quiet without a lot of wind, more than likely the end of March will be very windy. And there again, that's, you know, quite commonsensical, because we get a lot of wind in you know, February and March is windy months, as often are like October, November in the autumn and early part of the winter. So yeah, in like a lamb, out like a lion. We shall see. As I say, today I wouldn't say it's a lion. It's certainly more like a lamb. And you can reverse that one, in like a lion, out like a lamb. It is reversible, that saying. So as I say, I suppose these, as I've said before, a lot of these sayings derived when the majority of people, particularly in the countryside, worked on the land, and that's how they came about. Another one, there again, which my grandfather used to swear by this one, as many mists in March as frosts in May. So if you get misty days in March, that could mean that you get some late frosts in May. Now how that deduces and works out that way, but obviously if it's misty, there again, it's not very windy, it's quite still, and a lot of these weather patterns, you know, have been sort of, you know, noted over the years, and the older generations, you know, used to remember this, and probably, you know, we had a misty March one year and then got a lot of frosts in May one year, and that's how these old sayings come about. But yes, that's another one, as I say, as many mists in March as frosts in May. So we shall see how they you know, how they come to fruition this year. I did say in my last little February update about if thou hearest thunder in February, thou shalt see a summer wonder. Well, funny enough, only the other day, right at the end of February, we had some very black stormy clouds come up, and there were sort of really heavy showers with hail and really heavy rain, and I did hear a clap of thunder. So I'm very much now hoping for a summer wonder. But anyway, March is really the beginning of what I call the early spring. You know, you can see the birds are getting ready to start to think about nesting, and you know, plants and trees are beginning to move on. And a little update of my tubs. I'll show you how brilliantly I'm so delighted with my winter spring bedding tubs, how well they've done. I've now got my greenhouse washed out, ready. I did that last week after the winds had finally subsided, and I thought it was safe to go back into the greenhouse because it was blowing about so much the previous week. So I'm really now looking forward to getting back on with some quite serious gardening, and doing one or two little videos. The first thing I'm going to set, I can do without any heat on in there, is get some sweet peas set and get those going. So there we go. It's amazing to think, here we are, we've come round. You know, the winter sometimes seems to go slow and drag a little bit, you know, with the dark mornings and dark, you know, it gets dark very early on, you know, at 3:30, 4 o'clock it's often dark in December and January, but you can really see now. In fact, last night I could still see what I was doing outside at 6 o'clock in the evening, so quite remarkable how, you know, time moves on. So I've been delighted how these tubs have performed this winter so far, and you can see now The small iris reticulata that I set are well and truly out. These are a nice, almost sky blue. In fact, these are actually just starting to go over. And also the pansies have been absolutely wonderful this year. I think there again, maybe because we've not had the severe cold weather, and I got the plants growing well last autumn prior to setting them out. We'll have a look at the other tubs while we're here. I've had some rather nice, like almost species purple crocus in this one, and the pansies are just having a bit of a breather. They've gone over and there's some more buds coming out, but in the middle are some tete-a-tete small daffodils coming up now, which there again are going to be very colourful. And if we turn to the block of 3 tubs there, you can just see for early March, well, the very 1st of March, how colourful these tubs have been now for the last few weeks. In one of the most severe storms we had here on a Friday, when the winds sort of reached 70-80 miles an hour, I did stand the tubs inside the garage on that day, just to prevent, too much. Often plants will stand the wind, but they tend to get bruised if they, get blown about too much. We move in a bit closer. You can see the polyanthus are out rather nice now. We've got some more darker blue iris reticulata in here. There's some. Those crocus are called chrysanth style crocus, and there's some different crocus in that one with yellow with a green stripe. I'm not sure what they're called, but and as I say, the pansies have been absolutely spectacular this year. Then we've got some more real dark purple iris in this tub. So I do think it's worth having some winter-spring bedding in tubs. A lot of people don't seem to do it nowadays, but it just shows you what magnificent colour you can achieve this time of year, and it's well worth that little bit of effort. And not, I know I have the greenhouse, which is a great help, but it's not cost vast amounts of money. As I've always said, my gardening is done on a very, very tight budget. I'm certainly not extravagant. And you can see the rest of the pansies there. I've got a nice little clump there of iris coming through in the garden, and the pansies have done really well in the garden as well, and the bulbs are just beginning to, and there's some of my wallflowers that I grew from seed, which are coming on nicely. So as always, thanks for watching. Thanks to any new subscribers. Please do think about subscribing. We really do love having you along, and I thank you very much if you have subscribed, and please do comment. How's your winter been? Have you had a pretty quiet winter wherever you live? As I say, here it hasn't been too cold, thankfully, and there's still time. We could have some frosts and even snow in this country right into late March and on into April. So we can't rule that out altogether. But hopefully, the one good thing, the sun gets higher, and it doesn't last particularly long. It's a relatively short spell of weather. Whereas if it sets in cold at the end of November or December, it can last 2 or 3 months then. So anyway, as always, thank you for watching. Enough of me rambling on, and we'll be back with some future gardening videos and countryside videos very shortly. I'm sorry I haven't done much in the winter, but it's not been the sort of, it doesn't give you a lot of incentive, and there's not a lot, as I said, in the kind of gardening that I do that you can get out there and do anyway in the winter. The ground has been too wet, and it's been too cold. So really looking forward to getting back into action now. And until next time, good gardening wherever you are, and my best wishes, and bye for now.